Welcome to Hochoka Podcast.
If we keep everything in balance, we are in harmony with ourselves and are at peace, said Lakota holy man Frank Foolscrow. A key component of balance at St. Joe's is our Counseling Services Department. Today, we'll look at their work through an Indigenous lens. Hello, Mitakiepi, and welcome to Hochoka here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian Schools campus. I am Scott Wooster, your Hochoka host. Today we're joined once again by Dr. Melody Nadu. We talked with her earlier this season about developing an Indigenous evaluation framework for our programs. Our counseling services area is one of the facets of our programming. Dr. Mel recently visited there and spoke with Counseling Services Director Robin Connect. We'll learn about what they talked about today. Welcome back, Dr. Mel.
Thank you.
And welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Scott.
So, full disclosure, Robin is my boss, and I work in that department. So, of course, I'm pretty lit up today because I get to talk about stuff that's near and dear to my heart, and we get to put this all together. The Indigenous piece of this too, which is also near and dear to my heart. And so, my little corner up there is I really like to pair those two things, and I think this is going to be exciting to talk about. You both met each other recently, and you were able to walk around the Counseling Services Department, talk about it, went to the Equine Center, saw where the Sweat Lodge was. You've seen our campus. Robin gave you a tour through what we call our counseling services. The horses are part of that. What were your impressions that you saw coming to campus and meeting her and our Counseling Services Department?
Well, I think the first thing that really struck me is the length of time everybody's been engaged in this process. So you have a very large team. I think you said 10. And I don't know if you added up the numbers of
not a total number of years. No, not a total. But
that would be interesting because with our team we do that. We'll say we have this many years of experience as a collective. You guys are definitely winning the race on that. Lots of years of experience, and so it was fun just to hear that. I think your newest employee was 5 years, was it?
We have an intern who's just 1 year in.
Oh, 1 year, yep, intern. But then the full-time employees is like five all the way up to 30?
Yeah, well, 30? Scott and I, just between you and I, we have 50.
Yeah. Yep, and that's two of the 10. So I was really, really impressed with that, and just hearing the growth over time and the initiatives that have occurred since since your time here, and just hearing how much things have changed over that time. And what really struck me through our conversations, there was a few things that struck me, but one of the things is that you really have a handle on self-care, which is so important when it comes to counseling, because I work with a couple of counselors that work in our Indigenous Health PhD program, and in working with them and hearing about the work that they've done, one of my faculty has looked at what they call secondary trauma that can happen just from talking to people who have been traumatized. And so counselors really have to learn how to, if not, they experience a very high level of burnout. That's clearly not happening here because the people have been engaged for so long. So that was one of the things that was that I found really interesting with our conversation, is how your team has managed to take care of one another and provide space and come up with processes of like, how do we separate work from home, and really being mindful of that. So there was a few things that impressed me, but that was a couple of them.
Excellent. And Robin, just to take a step back, because I want to make sure that our viewers know exactly what we do here in the Counseling Services Department. Thumbnail sketch, what do we do? And we could spend days talking about it. But
Okay, so we provide individual counseling services for students on campus. Our counselors work very directly with families to make sure that families are part of all decisions that are made regarding their student. We provide mental health services in the form of individual therapy, group therapy. We have a contracted psychologist that comes to campus and provides academic testing and referrals in that way. We also have a pediatric psychiatrist that we work with that comes to campus 3 times a month that helps with medication management. That is very, very brief because what we do is so much more than just those services. It's really about relationships. It's about fostering that the way for our students to learn to advocate for themselves as they grow up and leave St. Joe's and move on to their next chapter. It's about supporting each other, having a team that can support each other through tough times, but also in the happy times. And, there's many different areas involved with the counseling department, but that's the brief version.
What can you tell us about what you might bring in terms of an Indigenous lens to that? And you can jump in at any time with what we're doing already, because I think it's pretty impressive.
No, it really is. With your introduction, some of the things that, like with the equine therapy, and just, we toured that facility and looking at the initiatives there and what's occurred from that and what's happened from that has such a profound impact, even from through a cultural lens and from the cultural worldview, if you will, the importance of horses to Native people. And it's almost like, what did I say when we were over there? It's almost like what's being done here is the building of that relationship, that historical relationship, because many of the children haven't had experiences with horses. And so now they're but historically the people have, but because of things that have happened with community and colonization and so forth, that relationship has been severed to an extent. And so that's being, rebuilt here through the activities that are happening and being able to share that impact, because just through that process of it's almost like building the relationship back with the ancestors and the impact that that's having on the children, trying to measure that and capture those stories, that is really what's going to emphasize and share that story of how the mission of St. Joseph's is coming to life through the work. Even hearing the intentionality that goes into selecting those horses, the horses are with intention diversified, so it's a very diverse horse population and with intention. And you think about it, just like the children that are here, they're very diverse. They represent different tribes and different cultures and different bands, and so horses are just like people. They're unique in their personalities, and and just hearing that and hearing, it's not surprising that those relationships spawn so naturally, and that. But I just really appreciate the intention that goes into like really diversifying the different types of horses that are here and what they've done and the experiences that they've had. It's really fascinating.
I'm going to pivot away from the horses a little bit and just talk a little bit more about the Indigenous impact of what we do in counseling and those kinds of things. What else are we doing with that, through that Indigenous lens?
I think making sure that every counselor has kind of that knowledge base to incorporate any type of culture that they can into their sessions. One of the things for me, kind of being in the director role, is seeing how that's evolved. And I think you might share this opinion too, but there's something to be said about when our psychologist smudges with students and does prayer ties, and same with our psychiatrist. You don't really get that out in the real world or outside of a setting like this. Just that openness and that courage to try things and to be open to doing things differently, still maintaining the standard of care that we have to in the mental health world, but making sure that we're just kind of pushing everybody to grow and to try different things. Reading the Healing the Soul Wound book by Durand, reading, things that are going to help us promote fostering that positive cultural identity with students is important, and just kind of making sure that that's always part of our focus.
So you talked about self-care. If you have everybody's going in the same direction, we support each other. So you come and ask. If you don't know the answer to something, we have people that we can ask. If you're upset about the way things have gone that day, you can go in and you can talk to somebody. Is there anything else you'd like to say about self-care too? Anything that we could improve on in the area of self-care that you saw up there?
Well, I just think, just reflecting, after visiting the center and reflecting after, I think that there's really what you're modeling can be supported with the children as well. Mm-hmm. And really thinking about the impact that they potentially have on each other, and how can those activities or spaces for self-care be more widely institutionalized and normalized. I know with another initiative that I was working on, they said even just that something as simple as for students just to have a place to go and smudge in, like if they wanted to, and you're talking about how they're doing that with the counselors, which is great. Mm-hmm. Anytime you start with prayer and smudge, good things follow. So just, I think it's more on that process of how things are carried out and done. Mm-hmm. But yeah, lots of exciting initiatives. And when we were touring the equine center, just talking about that vision of potentially having like a medicine garden out there right next to the sweat with the different medicines. And things kind of came full circle with the health center. Yep. And it's like, well, that could actually translate into having those medicines and having those teas. So that having fresh, medicines and teas, and then like translating that with the children to say, okay, this is what, like you just said, the live classroom. So all of these things are happening at some level, and then the vision's there, but then being able to move towards those initiatives with intention, and then really measuring that impact of that holistic impact of how are we collectively impacting, physical, emotional, the heart. I love that the heart is in the mission, which is, the center of everything that we do is the heart, so lots of great opportunities. I see no shortage of opportunities for the things that you're doing now, and then the vision that you all have for the future. It's, you're really going in a positive direction, which is really powerful. Yeah.
I'm struck, as you said that, you talked about the medicine garden. Is that what it's called out there? Or will be called? They're going into planting. What will be out there? Because, I mean, to me, that's kind of that's an embodiment of, a living, symbolic embodiment of what we're talking about, the holistic piece of this.
And Lorraine and Joe have been part of those conversations to have flat cedar and sage, and you had brought up peppermint, and having, other types of herbs on that walk path so that we can access those and use those. And
And I think, even having those conversations with your stakeholders, the students themselves, the families, because there's going to be people that are knowledgeable in that, and they'll be like, hey, this would be a good thing to have on site for even for colds, like I said. They have medicine that they just go harvest right here in the region to deal with colds, and it's like, what if we had that right here? That'd be amazing. Absolutely. And so I think that the medicines, they're not only the medicines are they impact us holistically. And so just a beautiful opportunity to inform that can actually have impact across the campus.
So I have a feeling I know. I'm curious what you would say to this, but what's the impact if you're doing this right in a holistic way?
Well, I think it's really important that you're capturing those stories of the very individuals that you're working with. And that's going to show the impact of the services that you have, and that all the resources that you're sharing with these students and the children. You shared a couple of examples. Might want to share one of those that when we were visiting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it speaks volumes when a former student reaches out to a counselor that they've worked with when they were here in grade school or high school, and says things like, "Hey, can you help me? I want to meet with somebody in my community, kind of like how I met with you." And it's hard sometimes because students didn't see what they did here as counseling, because we do a nice job, I think, of taking that stigma away from mental health. And so when they graduate and leave St. Joe's and reach out, they're like, what I did in your office was really helpful, or what I was able to do with St. Joe's was really helpful. How can I find that again? And connecting former students with resources is important. I think it also is a good way to show that even the day-to-day things that we do have a lasting impact, and students feel connected. Scott, I know you've had lots of former students that'll stop by and visit, and it just speaks volumes to that relationship that you've developed, or that the counselors have developed with former students, that we are that place that they can reach to when they need a little extra help, and we're here for them.
Absolutely. And most of them, the trick is to have counseling without making it feel like counseling.
Yes.
You know, there's no stigma attached. And most of my former students think that they were actually counseling me, right? Which worked out pretty well. But it also speaks to the bottom line is the relationship that you build with the kids is all that matters. So we preach relationship like crazy out here. The horses are part of that. The cultural piece is a part of that. And again, I know I've said this over and over, but you have come to our school without trying to preach anything, push anything, but that's how you build a relationship. So we haven't known each other that long, but we built a good relationship because of your approach, and so we appreciate that. And Robin, you're my boss, and I appreciate what you've done building a good counseling department, and what you do for your staff that work in that department too. So, and I'll just say to both of you, we appreciate having you here on Hochoka today to talk about what warms our hearts, right? It's good.
Yes.
Yeah. And we thank you, our audience, for joining us here at Hochoka at the center of St. Joseph's Indian School campus, where we discuss issues that are central to Native American education today. Until next time, stay centered.